Hello and welcome to Nutshell Recaps. This video explains the synopsis of the movie 65. Warning, there will be spoilers, so proceed with caution. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button, it will really help our channel grow. Other alien races have already begun exploring the rest of the universe before the arrival of humanity. On the planet Samaras, Mills is telling his wife, Alia, that he has taken a 2-year exploration position as he watches his daughter, Navine, play on the beach. He typically performs short runs, but this time he needs the extra cash to cover Navine's illness care. Before ultimately talking to her about his trip, Mills first demonstrates how to whistle with your hands to Navine. Later, Mills is the pilot in command of a spacecraft that is transporting a crew that is in cryogenic sleep. The ship is struck several times by meteorite fragments after an unanticipated meteorite activity one day. Mills rushes to the cockpit and sends an emergency signal while directing the ship to land on the closest planet as the ship starts to fall apart. In the end, the ship splits into 2 pieces, and as Mills watches the unavoidable collision, he remembers his daughter before passing out. A little while later, Mills awakens to the computers, stating that they are in an unknown location. A piece of metal is found to be trapped on his stomach, which he has to severely remove before cauterizing the wound. He dons his astronaut suit after that and starts exploring the ship to assess the damage, whereupon he learns that the cryo chamber is in danger. Mills exits the spacecraft and steps into a pool of water where an enigmatic creature swims about him. He then grabs a laser rifle just in case. He also discovers the bodies of his whole team and is heartbroken to learn that no one survived. Mills sends another SOS message stating that he is in uncharted region after examining the entire ship for damage and realizing the escape pod is on the other half that crashed somewhere else. Mills pulls his revolver with the idea of ending things since he feels trapped and hopeless, but Navine's memory prevents him from doing so. Then, in an effort to hear Navine's voice once more, Mills collects all of the tapes containing the messages she has been sending him. All of a sudden, the computer spots a functioning capsule nearby. Ko, a passenger, is discovered to be still alive inside the vehicle when Mills arrives to inspect. He gets her out right away. Mills discovers a large paw print on the ground as they make their way back to the ship, revealing that this planet was Earth 65 million years ago and that Mills is surrounded by dinosaurs. When darkness arrives, the two make it aboard the ship, and Mills spends the night dreaming of Navine, asking him where he is. The following morning, Mills is committed to leaving in order to only save the girl. The ship's computer is used by him to try to locate the second half of the craft, but the scan is unsuccessful. After that, Mills ventures outdoors to investigate the area and finds enormous bones that show how scary the neighborhood predators are. Additionally, he unintentionally receives a hot geyser blast that he has never seen before. When he regains consciousness, he notices a dazzling object in the distance and realizes that the second ship's half is on a distant mountain. A short scan verifies it, and just as Mills is deciding which direction to go, a tiny dinosaur attacks him. Following a brief fight with the beast, Mills knocks it to the ground and shoots it repeatedly until it falls to the ground dead. When Mills goes to investigate additional noises coming from the woods, he finds Ko has deserted the ship. As soon as she sees him, the girl starts fleeing and Mills follows her until they both tumble off a ledge and come across a large yet dead dinosaur. As soon as the trees began to shake, Mills noticed a larger beast approaching and grabbed Ko to take her back to the ship. He tries to explain the problem as he tends to the injury she sustained when she fell, but it turns out that they don't speak the same language and the ship's translator isn't functioning. Mills draws the mountain with a pod and spreads a crimson powder on a tablet to illustrate his thesis that they need to get there to get away. Since Ko joins him and recognizes the word family as her parents, Mills lies and says her family is also in the mountain to calm her down. Following that, Ko discovers the recordings of Navine while Mills issues a new SOS broadcast announcing the discovery of a survivor. Navine's sickness worsened throughout the first year of travel, forcing doctors to admit her to the hospital. It is revealed as she observes them all. In the first, she sent her dad happy and proud notes, but as time went on, she started to get upset with him because he wasn't there for her. Ko is caught watching the tapes and Mills shuts them off right away and says they are going. Once he has enough food and supplies, Mills and Ko set out through the forest, being careful to be silent so as not to attract any predators. Although the journey is lengthy and difficult, they get closer each time Mills assists Ko when she stumbles or needs anything. Ko notices something glowing red in the sky one afternoon, but she keeps quiet about it. Eventually, Ko gets tired of all the traveling and decides to disturb Mills by throwing some berries at him from a nearby bush. Ko is told not to play with the berries by an irate Mills, who uses his scan to demonstrate that they are poisonous. Later, a huge bug lands on Mills' neck, and when he kills it with his hand, his fingers end up covered in a disgusting sticky substance. Mills tries to brush it off on a tree, But the thing is so strong that he falls with a piece of bark stuck to his hand, which makes Ko laugh. To tease her back, Mills tries to touch her with his dirty hand. But their little game is interrupted when a small tree falls in front of them. There are some weird noises coming from behind a ledge, and the duo finds a small dinosaur stuck in a pit of the sticky substance. Ko feels awful for it and rushes to assist it, which Mills considers to be too risky. Mills ultimately assists her in finishing more quickly since she won't listen. The tiny animal leaves as soon as it is set free, but only a few feet later it is attacked by a pack of predators, which promptly devours it. Ko is dragged into a hiding place by Mills so she won't have to see her friend being eaten, but she can see what is happening and sobs. The two continue their journey after the dinosaurs have disappeared, pausing at a waterfall to clean themselves and fill their water bottles. Although Mills is concerned about the condition of his stomach wound, thinking about Navine while watching Ko gives him enough motivation to continue. In order to get Mills to let her put one of the gorgeous flowers she finds in his hair, Ko bothers him. After Mills' scanner loses track of the mountain a few minutes later, he decides to climb a tree for a better vantage point and rescan the region. As he shakes his arm to remove a bug that he's discovered on his hand, the branch breaks and Mills falls, dislocating his arm. A number of dinosaurs notice the disturbance and start to move towards the area as Ko assists Mills in pushing his arm against a tree to try to put it back in place. Ko is forced to walk on Mills' arm for the final push to expedite the situation, and after he recovers, he snatches the rifle and starts firing at the animals. Ko is also instructed to flee, and when she has gone a sufficient distance, Mills detonates a few little bombs, instantly wiping off half of the dinosaurs. Mills keeps getting attacked by the survivors as he shoots them one by one. Ko starts to crawl away to hide behind a tree as a group of flying dinosaurs land nearby in the meantime. Unfortunately, the previous animals track her down, and just as they prepare to attack her, Mills appears and kills all of them. But one is hidden and suddenly leaps on Ko from behind, driving her off with its tail. Swiftly pursuing them, Mills fires at the beast to drive it away. As a result, Mills sits down and calmly gives Ko some space because she is now too terrified to go on or even be close to him. In an effort to soothe Ko down as it grows darker, Mills chooses to whistle as he used to do for Navine. The ruse is successful, and Ko responds by whistling in the manner unique to her family before deciding to continue. The two finally arrive to the cave where they would spend the night after a lot of traveling. Using his scanner to scan the sky, Mills installs some sensors that will alert them to any impending danger before finally realizing the meteorite is nearby. He doesn't worry because it is a minor one. Ko abruptly diverts his attention by telling him she brought one of Navine's tapes along. While Mills initially reacts angrily, he later decides to play the tape since Navine gives the two of them comfort. Mills is crying as he tries to fall asleep because he keeps remembering the day Alia called to let him know Navine had passed away in the hospital. Later on in the evening, the sensors wake Mills awake to inform him of impending danger. When he checks on Ko, he sees that an insect has gotten into her mouth. He uses a tool to kill the bug right away, leaving Ko to cough out all the leftovers. A massive dinosaur then materializes outside the cave as the sensors start to go crazy. Before he and Ko exit the cave through a small opening at the back, Mills fires it a few times. Unaware that a smaller dinosaur is pursuing them, the pair starts searching for a way out right once. The pair is disappointed to find they've come to a dead end after doing a lot of walking and navigating tight spots. Mills discovers a small opening between two boulders and makes an effort to expand it. But after spending a few hours making little progress, he gives up. Ko notices, and she becomes enraged, insisting that they try again while repeatedly shouting, "Family." Mills tries to explain to her that they are dead, but she is unable to do so. Mills realizes he is without the necessary equipment and has an idea. He uses a few explosives to dig a hole big enough for a child before giving Ko the remaining bombs so they can be kept secure while she explores. Mills tries to follow Ko as she crawls through the little opening to make sure there is space on the other side. Unfortunately, when Mills loses contact with Ko, the hole abruptly collapses, causing him to yell in rage. Mills hears the dinosaur arriving at that very moment, so he collects his weapon and heads back to the first cave, where he uses his scanner to determine where the creature is. Mills anticipates the creature's attempt to approach him from behind and starts to shoot it, but the dinosaur smashes him and forces him to put down the rifle. The dinosaur then takes Mills by the arm and begins to bite it, but Mills fights it off and eventually makes it to his scanner, where he activates a screaming sound that irritates the dinosaur's ears. After distracting the beast, Mills gets his rifle and shoots it. Ko arrives outside in the meantime. She wanders the forest by herself and discovers a large bone that she can use as a weapon. She wraps it in a large leaf and some poisonous berries and puts it in the bag. The meteorite Mills observed earlier was merely a shattered piece of a larger one that will impact in a few hours and cause a terrible extinction event. Minutes later, Mills manages to escape the cave, and when he notices that a large meteorite is getting closer, he uses his scanner to discover this information. He hears Ko cry as a dinosaur approaches her and promptly runs in search of her. While Mills sprints in her direction, Ko quickly hides beneath a tree trunk. However, Mills trips and falls into a pit of quicksand. He attempts to call Ko, but as he slowly goes under, he loses the ability to speak. When Ko hears Mills' call, she musters the confidence to run while waiting for the dinosaur to penetrate the tree trunk so she may throw the bombs at it. Ko may safely cross the quicksand and lean over a tree to assist Mills in emerging from the pit now that the beast is dead. After exchanging hugs, Mills tells Ko about the meteorite as the two of them continue their final few miles of running. The pair ultimately arrives at the mountain's base in the evening. Ko cleverly knots the rope in an elaborate pattern around rocks and trees so that it can support Mills' weight as he ascends as well when Mills wraps some rope around her and she begins to climb. They discover the other half of the spacecraft a little while later, and Mills quickly activates the computer to ensure a rescue ship is on its way to pick them up. In her search for her family, Ko finally comes upon all the shattered crave tanks, which makes her angry with Mills for the fabrication. She begins to cry, and Mills pulls out a photo of Nevine and tells her he lost his daughter while he was on the job and that he can't let that happen again. Ko apologizes profusely before giving Mills a tight hug. Mills and Ko rush to board the emergency pod as the smaller parts of the meteorite start to descend to Earth suddenly. A shard of meteorite strikes the ship just as Mills is about to press the launch button, sending the pod hurtling down the mountain and knocking the two unconscious. Ko is the first to awaken, and he swiftly clicks the launch button. However, the computer informs him that he cannot launch from this position. A massive dinosaur appears and starts assaulting the pod just as Mills starts to awaken as well. Mills is forced to take the risk of leaving the pod to get the gun after it fell to the ground, only to find that it is inoperable. Mills flees to a hiding place behind a piece of the ship and adjusts the gun settings as a second dinosaur joins the attack. Ko snatches the Nevine tape and uses the scanner to play it in order to generate a hologram of Nevine outside the ship as the dinosaurs suddenly around him. Mills sobs as he anticipates one final encounter with his daughter before passing away, but it turns out that the dinosaurs were duped and attacked the hologram first. While the other pushes the ship in an effort to get to Ko, Mills emerges and quickly dispatches the first creature using this as a diversion. Mills immediately comes after it too, and after a few well-landed shots, this dinosaur dies as well. Thanks to the creature's push, the pod is now in the right position to launch. Before Mills can return, though, the beast that he had shot back in the cave returns and begins chasing him. With a plan in mind, Mills runs to the geysers and makes the dinosaur walk into a hot blast of water that hits its face. Sadly, it doesn't do much damage, but just then, Ko appears and uses the bone she had previously prepared to stab the dinosaur in the eye. When the dinosaur starts flailing and steps on top of another geyser, the blast successfully burns it to death by striking it in the stomach this time. Following that, Mills and Ko return to the pod and are able to launch before an asteroid strikes Earth and causes the extinction of the dinosaurs. The autopilot directs the pod to the meeting location once it escapes the atmosphere, where a rescue ship will be waiting for them. Ko comforts Mills by holding his hand as he closes his eyes and acts as though he would soon be reunited with Nevine as they depart for home.